Hi everyone, and welcome back to Rise with Sarah Sinclair. I am your host, Sarah, and today I have the wonderful, high-performing business development manager, Stefan Albanese. You've done so much, Stefan, in a short amount of time. Ray White, BDM of the Year, finalist for REB Awards, BDM of the Year. A massive congratulations.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you.
And I'm so pleased to have you on today. So for the viewers watching, tell us a bit about yourself.
So 31. I've been in real estate since I was 22. Straight after university, I completed a business and commerce degree at Monash, but always had sort of a history in property. The old man used to always take us to the auctions on a Saturday growing up. Bought my first investment at 18, so I was already sort of in that space, and that's what I wanted to explore. So I started at Woodard's in Oakley back when I was early 20s. I was there for about a year before being poached by Buxton in Oakley. So I actually started my real estate career as a sales agent. Worked in sales for 4 years before transitioning into the BDM role.
Awesome. And how did you find that transition from sales to BDM?
I found it quite easy, but I think I was in the right environment as well. I think I learned from the best, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to align myself with guys that were experts in the BDM space, and so I learned the trade there, and that's obviously set myself up for the future success that we've had.
Yeah, and you've done so great. And I think an important thing that you mentioned as well is just to surround yourself with people who are doing the things that you want to do and learn from them. And I learned so many things from sales agents that I worked with as a BDM as well, because there's skills that are transferable, right? So yeah, really great transition there. But today, really great to have you on because want to explore the client experience as a BDM that will set ourselves up for success. And for the newer BDMs or the experienced BDMs, I think going forward as well, there's a big emphasis on relationships and building and maintaining strong relationships with our clients. So specifically, how did you do this? Because I know that you've been a master at doing this.
Establishing relationship with clients, it's about building that rapport. And I know a lot of other people will continue to talk about probably the same thing over and over again. But it is the truth. If you're able to build rapport with someone, being able to be an expert in your field, just be really sharp, and have an empathetic approach in what the client is looking for, and center your scripts and dialogues around questions, that's going to help you as a BDM, right? If you're able to ask the rental provider or whoever it may be exactly what they're looking for, they're giving you the answer. And then all you need to do as a BDM is become that problem solver. And once you've nailed that, the listings come.
Yeah, 100%. I think, yeah, some key things there is, about rapport building, being the expert in your field, and that's being a human being and showing that empathetic approach. Like we're not just agents or BDMs, and then asking questions to understand what it is exactly what they want. And so that you're not just talking about everything, you're specifically tailoring your approach to the needs and the wants of the clients. Is that right?
Well, spot on. If you've got a client that has it's their first time as an investor and they've just built a brand new home, you sort of know the dialogue you want to use is that the leasing side of things and how you're going to maximize their rental return based on finding the right tenant and how quickly you're going to do it. Whereas if you've got a client that is actually with another agency and they're not happy with the level of service that they're getting, your dialogue then shifts to, okay, how does our property management team perform? And you're only going to know what to say based on the questions you ask the client.
Yeah, absolutely. And can you identify a situation where you were able to specifically really understand a client's unmet needs and then you developed a solution to resolve that in a positive outcome?
It's a good question for me. During my time at Melbourne Real Estate in South Yarra, dealing with more probably experienced investors, absolutely. But my time at Ray White Cranbourne, dealing with a lot of the Clyde North areas, a lot of those rental providers were brand new investors, and well, it was their first time as investors. So you had to really hold their hand and guide them through certain things. So um, I feel like I've experienced both sides of the spectrum. You've got your investors that have been around for a long time and sort of know what they're doing, compared to ones that are brand new, and you just got to adapt.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm going to refer to a poll that I put up the other day, which I was really pleased that majority of BDMs ticked the right things on my poll. But the question was, so, another agent has advised a owner that they're going to get $600 per week, and this price has been inflated by the other agent. What would you do, right? And I think it's great that I saw people saying they would ask questions to understand, well, why do they want the $600 a week? Is it actually just the $600 a week? Where are they finding this information? Is it important for them because they have this ideology that the rental price is going to cover their costs for an investment property, which we know in Victoria is very rare that that will happen, right? And the other one was, well, can you at least show the client that you want to help them get that rental price and come up with a marketing strategy? So is this something that you tailored when, or, implemented when you were speaking with clients and when it came around the rental prices that they were wanting to achieve?
So the way I structured my dialogues and scripts when I was sort of doing a presentation, I didn't really talk about price actually at all. It's more so, what's the strategy we're going to adopt to get you the best outcome, right? So let's look at the marketing side of things. Let's say you've got professional photos, you've got a marketing video tour, you're on page 1 of realestate.com.au, where we all know what 60 odd or 70 odd % of people don't ever look past page 2. If the firm that you work for has a dedicated leasing team, all of a sudden you've got the capacity to do more open for inspection. So during the week. So that naturally is going to get them the best outcome. And if it's $550 or $575 or $600 per week, would be in the best position to get there. And then you sort of look at the comparables that have leased that's similar to their home. So it's not promising a price of, let's say, 600, where the market might say it's worth 500 or 550 or 575. This is the strategy we're going to adopt. How does that sit with you?
I love
So,
that.
and it's a proven leasing strategy. And then you sort of talk about, okay, with that leasing team, then you're able to, they're in a position to process applications better. We've leased the most amount of properties, so then we're able to refer previous renters over to your home. So having all that at the palm of your hand is going to help you get the owners on board. And you don't really talk about price. I don't think a lot of the rental providers that I dealt with in the past make a decision as to which agent they want to work with based on the price that they tell them. It's all about strategy.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's a really good mindset hack right now is, yeah, just to not get overwhelmed with just the price, is what you said. Stefan was looking at the strategy because of the outcome that the client wants to achieve, and knowing what their outcome was and then tailoring your strategy towards that. So I really love that approach. So BDMs that are watching, definitely get that one on your tool belt for sure. And I think as well, like when we're talking about the client experience, I'm sure that your clients felt amazing, Stefan, that you listened to them, what they wanted, and then adapted a strategy tailored to what their needs were. Is that what you found?
Yeah, and transparency is key. So that's why you sort of don't want to go too hard about the price. It's, like I said, it's the strategy. These are the comparables. This is how we're going to do it. If you want to be enthusiastic and it's instill that confidence to the rental providers by saying, "Hey, we'll love to break a record with your property. We'll love to get you the $600 per week. This is what we're going to do to get there."
Yeah, amazing. And what about, let's talk about the communication skills when it comes to the client experience, because I'm still shocked to hear that people are still hesitant to get on the phone and have those touch point conversations with their clients. And you just made a point with transparency. So why do you think it's so important to have that transparency and that communication skills to accelerate that client experience for the rental providers?
Look, this could be just me, but I feel that a lot of people are time poor. People want to make a decision today, and what they want is all the information in the palm of their hand. I had it in the past where a BDM from another office sort of said, Stefan, um, what my director wants is for me to go and meet with the individual, the rental provider, face to face, and don't give him the fees until I meet with them. It's like, well, no, give him the fee straight away. I don't see any problems with that, because again, it's that openness and transparency, and the fact that a lot of people are so time poor. They're gonna trust you a little bit more, and they're gonna make that decision a lot quicker. So in my mind, and I'm sort of getting off topic here, but in my mind, that transparency and that openness is what you need. I think it's key to success.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, the transparency, open, and we don't need to hide away from fees. And the same thing, I've seen some agencies being hesitant to send out their fees, but it's like, be proud that the fees just represent the service and the value you provide within your organization and within your team. Like, we don't need to hide away from, well, this is the cost to utilize our services, and this is the value you're going to receive from having the services that we provide to you, right? So I think that is a great strategy. And then when you get there, well, they've already seen the fees, yeah. So it's like a conversation that doesn't need to be like, oh, okay, now it's time to get to fees and discuss the fees, where they've already seen that openly from you.
And I think what one of the challenges I found as a BDM though, particularly if you're dealing with a lot of listings, you don't have time to meet every client face to face. A lot of my a lot of my presentations were done on the phone or via email or even via Zoom. So particularly if you're listing a few properties, you're not going to get 10, 15, 20 appraisals done a week without nailing a script and dialogue over the phone or via email.
Yeah, or unless you're having perhaps an assistant who runs around and does all of the admin and photography, compliance, and all of that. Which, yeah, it's now there is a lot that BDMs need to do, because that's that first step on preparing the properties to have a seamless transition for the property management side, right? So I want to talk about, what were some things that you did that you measured the client satisfaction for your new clients that you were onboarding?
Transparently, probably not a hell of a lot. We'll sort of signing up a deal a day. So it was over 300 deals with sort of listings. So for me, it was more of a meet the client or get a presentation done, list it, take the photos, get it online, introduce them to the leasing team. And that's where the leasing team will then lease the property. They will then introduce I've introduced the property manager, but then they redo that. And then that relationship goes from myself to the leasing consultant to the property manager. It'll be every so often where I'll check in with them just to see how everything's tracking, if they got a good outcome, whether we've leased it after the first open, because you want to sort of go down the path of asking for Google reviews. I think that's super, super important, that online presence, because before anyone calls your office, they've already done their research on you, whether they've looked at Google reviews, whether they've looked at Rate My Agent. So the only time where I would then fall back on seeing what my client's expectations were and if they were met, and if we did meet it, because you call them after it's leased, you ask for that review. So that's sort of how you measured it. If they refer a friend, obviously that's a huge plus as well. So that's sort of the metric that you use to measure if we were successful or not.
Yeah, I love that. And, there's new other ways of, NPS scoring now. I know a lot of offices are doing that, which is just seeing how, the rental providers and the renters are finding that experience. And I think a good way of measuring, the success and that relationship is, well, are you getting referrals from clients that you have assisted? because generally that is a good indication that, well, they're going to keep telling other people about your services. And that's what we want. We want to tap into the existing networks that we've got to really contribute to that growth and really getting to that scale stage. And what you said about the awareness is 100%. Like, now rental providers have everything at their fingertips. And I think if any agency thinks that they're not going to be looking at other agencies as well, I would be 100%. I would be going on and looking at the website, Google reviews, the team. So I think when it comes to reviewing everything from a holistic point of view, and okay, how are we all contributing as a team to help with our brand awareness? How are we measuring the success of the clients by NPS scoring? Or is it by Google reviews? Or is it from more referrals that we're getting from our current renters and rental providers? Because I think sometimes as well, businesses can forget about the renters, which they can be some of the biggest referrers. Would you agree?
Yeah, 110%. That's why I think a lot of businesses should adopt a 360-degree approach, because a lot of renters, they do own investment properties, or they do have family and friends that own homes. So I think if you tap into renters, absolutely, that's going to add more business to your business, because eventually they will become buyers and they will become sellers, and they might be buying multiple investment properties. So I think the approach of they're only renters, I think that's what we sort of saw in the past, or many, many years ago. That's now quickly changed. I think there's a lot of people out there that do prefer renting over sort of owning a home as well. So you've got to keep an open mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And so for any new BDMs watching or experienced BDMs, what's something actionable that you would encourage them to be doing today? What should they do today?
The first thing you do is pick up the phone.
Well,
It's simple as that, really. If you can pick up the phone, Sarah, you're more than halfway there. And honestly, when I first started in real estate, I wasn't great at picking up the phone. I was nervous as anything, because I didn't want to hear other people or know other people hearing my conversations in the office. It was sort of really intimidating at the start. But once you get over that hurdle, and you're making the calls, and you know what? You've got people in the office there that are actually going to help you as well, because they might pick up on certain things. It's going to make you better. And the more people you obviously deal with, the more opportunity you're going to get.
yeah,
So that's the first bit of advice that I would give, is just to be confident and be yourself. Don't mimic anyone else.
yeah. And I do get this a lot is I get some clients saying, oh, they've just got this hesitation with cold calling. So what would be your advice with that, getting over that hesitation with cold calling?
The cold calling is, you got to identify, what do you actually want from this call? Do you want the person's email address? Do you want to know if they still own that investment property? So you sort of just get straight to the point. Let them know who you are, where you're from, why you're calling, all within the first 10 seconds of the call.
Mm.
Right. So once you've got that, you don't want to be giving a yes or no question to someone. You sort of want to say, okay, look, this is what's happened. You still own X, Y, and Z on Smith Street, wherever it is. I want to give you some information, because what rental provider doesn't want to have information about how their investment is performing?
Especially
I don't.
free. For free.
Yeah, for free, but especially for now as well. You've got obviously the rate rises that have happened. The rent prices have gone up. Or I had it in the past where someone didn't have a rent increase for 3 years. It was mind blowing, that the lack of proactivity from some agencies. So you just don't know where these calls are going to lead. Then 9 times out of 10, they're going to be a positive outcome. So the basic step is to pick up the phone, make the call.
Yeah, I think it's like, from my experience as well. And I think maybe it's just a Ray White thing in the network. I mean, Ray White network's amazing, but it was always embedded in me that, the more calls we make, the more opportunities that we create for ourselves, but we also find the lessons in that. And the other thing, that the sales agents used to love me being on the phone, because it created a buzz for them to get on the phones and start prospecting as well, right? So it has like a flow-on effect. And then the PMs want to get on the phone as well and make calls. And then you've got like your whole team connecting and conversing with people, rather than just being at their desk typing away, right? Then you're all creating this brand awareness. It's like you've got this ecosystem that is working for you all the time. And that is just, and it's fun, like when you can get on that, right? And I think, from your experience and being in the role for so long, and what has contributed to your success? What do you think has been the biggest driver behind your success?
I think for me, the energy and enthusiasm that I bring, especially when I'm dealing with owners, I think that sharpness that you've got, that knowledge about the industry as well. So yes, I've done sales. Yes, I tapped into actually commercial real estate, and obviously yes, I've been a BDM. Not only that, obviously I've bought and sold properties before. You've sort of done some development work as well. So if you've got that sort of knowledge and you're able to share it with clients, I think that's going to help. But that empathetic approach, that energy and enthusiasm is going to help a long way, which I feel like it's really helped me.
Yeah, that's so great. And on that, I want to talk about the investor language, because I think you just, tapping into knowledge, and especially as business development managers who are speaking with investors daily, why do you think it's so important for BDMs to understand the investor language and terminology when it comes to having an investment property?
You're able to identify any sort of concerns or something that may arise that maybe they haven't thought of.
Mm.
So, because you've been in that position before, you might have an investor that's really struggling with these rate rises, and a simple suggestion of, hey, speak to your broker, potentially go down the path of interest only, so then it frees up some cash flow. A lot of these people didn't even think about that, or reaching out to their broker at all. So the fact that you've sort of triggered that for them, geez, they sort of put you on a pedestal, and they thank you for it. So yeah, I think obviously it helps being where they've been. It helps that, yeah, you're looking for investment opportunities yourself, so you know sort of what you're looking out for. And if you're able to speak the same language as them, and you're able to obviously get along with them, well, obviously their barriers are going to drop, and you'll get along with them, and you'll probably win that business, because if they like you, they're going to go with you. If they don't like you, they won't go with you. It doesn't matter how good you are. So I think that's as a BDM, and the key to success is working on having a good relationship with a potential rental provider.
Yeah. So some, last tips for, okay, we've got some newcomer BDMs in the industry. They don't know where to start with their cold calling. Where would you suggest that they start when it comes to their cold calling? Like, who should they be calling?
Any past appraisals that the office has done. You could go through previous buyer inquiry, and if they've put down that they're an investor. There was a video that Tom Panos posted, I think it was a couple of days ago, and he interviewed a gentleman who said that someone that's pre-approved, right? 90% of the time they're going to be buying in that pre-approved phase, which is that 3 months. So if you've got someone that's pre-approved, they're going to buy, and maybe they're an investor, there's a client for you. So
Yeah.
that's the sort of thing I'd start with.
Yeah. And I remember watching that video as well, because
Yeah.
they have that urgency because they want to buy now before another interest rate. Well, hopefully it doesn't happen in VIC. Like, please, I hope it doesn't happen in VIC. But in case another interest rise goes up, right, that creates this urgency right now. So I think that's really great tips. And what about, like, going forward, the digital space? And we talk about awareness. Where do you think BDM should be investing their energy when it comes to their awareness now in their marketplace?
As a social media perspective,
Well, I guess there's a few different strategies. But what do you think that helps really with building up their presence in their marketplace? Could be social media.
so for me, I'll assume you own an investment property in your core service area, and what would you do in researching agents? Would you jump on Google? Would you look at Rate My Agent? Would you look at social media? Would you look at LinkedIn, right? You'd put down probably your top 3 or top 5 that you'll look at. I know what my preference would be. I like looking at reviews. I think Google reviews are super, super important. Eventually, I think REA are probably going to come out with reviews also for the property management space if they haven't done so already. So they're the ones that I would focus on. Having a presence on your sort of your Instagrams and your Facebooks and whatnot. It works for some, doesn't work for others, depending on your marketplace. So I would, depending on where you work, Google those sort of agencies, look at what they do, and then tailor it to that. That's my opinion. So you probably know I'm not massive on Instagram. I'm not massive on Facebook. I don't have my own real estate pages, but what we're big on was Rate My Agent and Google.
Yeah.
So, and that, I think that worked really, really well.
Yeah. And interestingly enough, I actually sent through a report to some of my clients the other day that I got. And if anyone wants it, please let me know. But it was a report on actually showcasing where investors are going to receive their information and get educated. And podcast was actually one of the top rated. So if I was a BDM now, I would be jumping on and getting on some podcasts or even creating my own podcast channel in doing education, because everything essentially that we're doing on Google or we're doing on social media, you can literally create a podcast about it. And it doesn't have to be long. They can be short form, short, sharp, quick information, tips, your market updates, like it all can be in a podcast form. So I think know what you said, as well as know where the investors in your area are going. Like, where are they hanging out? Where are they obtaining their information? Who is educating them? Because to be the go-to in the area, like, you want to be the one educating them, right? We don't want them to go somewhere else for that information. We want to get in front of them. So I think that was really good advice that you gave there, is know your marketplace, know your demographic, and really have a strategy for that, and then play around with it as well. If it's not working, cool, pivot, adapt, try something different, and what else? Is there anything else you would like to add about, the client experience for the BDMs, and just some advice for them to really hone in on that relationship that they have with their clients?
Yeah, like I said, you be transparent. I think that is the key. If you've got an agent that, or if you're that agency that, or that agent that someone can call and they know they're going to get the right information from, whether it's good or bad, that's what you want to continue doing, right? So if there's a call that you've got to make and you've got to give bad news to someone, make that call, because they'll probably respect you more for it. Don't sort of tiptoe around it or sort of palm it off. Yeah, be open to confrontation sometimes. I think that's obviously what we need to do as BDMs. And yeah, that rental provider you will be their go-to person, whether they buy a property that's on the other side of the city and they give you a call asking for your advice about it. Geez, I loved getting those phone calls, because you know that, hey, I'm this person's go-to. And that's sort of where you want to get to. And to get to that sort of level is you got to build that trust. So you be open, you be honest. You might not, yeah, look, you might say something that they may not agree with, but you got to say it, because they would 9 times out of 10 work with you.
Yeah, I love that. And outside of work, I mean, how do you stay sharp and educated? Like, do you listen to podcasts yourself, or do you read books? Do you attend conferences? Do you have a coach? Like, what do you do outside of work to keep, yourself sharp on the tools?
So for me, I think yeah, listening to podcasts are really, really important. So whether it's a Simon Sinek, I think he's fantastic at what he does. He's not even real estate specific, but he's just great and sort of a different approach. You've got a Grant Cardone who I listen to a lot. This is an American-based entrepreneur. When you're sort of speaking to a client and you sort of got that enthusiasm, I learned that a lot from a guy called Ving Jan. I don't know if you've heard of Ving
Yes,
Jan before.
the magician.
He's fantastic, and when he talks about how you emphasize certain words, and instead of saying
Energy.
certain things, I think he's great. That's a podcast I'd highly recommend everyone else listening to. Then obviously you got other mentors in the real estate industry, whether it's a Tom Panos or a Josh Fegan or a Sarah Zick, whoever it might be. they're the ones that are going to help you. But I think listening to podcasts and sort of those sort of guys that I've just mentioned, that give different perspectives to certain things. Look, I like that. So, and I think that's helped me a bit.
I love that as well. Like I'm all for podcasts, even YouTube as well. Like I like to, I'm a visual person. So although podcasts are good if I'm, in the car or something, like I
No,
love
100%.
to see people. And yeah, Simon Sinek's actually every one that you just mentioned, the podcast, I'm pretty sure that they're on YouTube. But it's not just attending conferences in or listening to podcasts that's real estate related. It's actually looking at other businesses or other people that specialize in a specific topic, which is great. And I think then what helped me when having a mentor or a coach is the actual doing, because we can learn and we can obtain information, but then when it comes to accountability and tracking things and actually doing the work, it's great that someone is there with you to hold your hand through that process as well. So yeah, really great advice. And any books? Are you a reader? Do you like reading?
No, I'm not a reader at all, to be honest. No. I did read Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. That was a really good book. How to Win Friends and Influence Others. That I did read, but you can count on one hand how many books I've read probably in my lifetime. I'm probably the same as you, more of a visual person. I like listening to the podcast. I like watching your YouTube videos, even if they're on TikTok as well. There's just plenty of videos out there that are informative enough that's going to help you. And I also think you sort of nailed the you need someone that's going to keep you accountable. Whether it's someone in the office, whether it's someone on the outside, whether it's a friend, whoever that person might be, they're going to add fuel to your fire, and that's going to push you that extra mile, or achieve whatever goal it is that you wanted to achieve. So I sort of had it set out when I started at Ray White. I really wanted to win BDM of the year. I think my first year I finished as a finalist, and the second year you win it. But that was me dedicating 6-7 days a week to it. I really adapt a sales approach, like doing appraisals after hours, doing appraisals on a Saturday, where a lot of other BDMs or property managers aren't doing. So, but I had a mentor at the time that was really helping me get to that, because there's days where you just can't be bothered doing things, and then that's where that mentor and that accountability is worth its money.
Yeah, we all need I like to say, we all need a little tire pump. Someone in our life that will pump our tires and just give us that, bit of sometimes we just need that bit of a push, because we're all capable of doing the things that we want to do. And it's just that little bit of push and that motivation that then creates that confidence, momentum to fulfill the things that we want. And I think I love that you mentioned that that was one of your goals. And it's really important, I think, for everyone to realize, what are your goals and why. Similar to you, I had, the same goal was to win a Ray White BDM of the Year award. And I worked really hard, and no one would see the amount of hours or the effort, the amount of calls that I did behind the scenes to reach that goal. And I think that's to be, for everyone listening, just to be mindful that you don't have to work 6 days or 7 days a week like we did, right? You don't have to work after hours like we did, but we had something in mind that we wanted to work really hard towards to achieve that. Yeah. And the numbers that we were doing as well is, well, I didn't have an assistant at that time. I don't know did you have an assistant?
We had a virtual assistant that would help us put properties online, but we would still have to do the presentation. We pretty much basically did most of the stuff, apart from clicking the button to get it live on REA. You start to come up with a description. I know AI sort of helps with that at the moment, but no, it is a lot of work, and I think it's important for BDMs to say, okay, what are your goals? Whether it's to win BDM of the year, whether it's to get 20 deals a month or 10 deals a month, and then let's sort of go backwards from that. It's like, okay, what do we need to do on a monthly basis or a fortnightly basis or a weekly basis, and then on a daily basis to achieve that goal? And I think that's super, super important, and you've got to measure it too. So you sort of know where you're at, whether you need to improve, you need to work harder, or if you can have a bit of a break. I think that helped me a lot.
Yeah, and look, it's great now. We've got so many prop tech companies coming out that are assisting with automating things, and yeah, how lucky are we that we can have remote assistants or VAs so that BDMs can be more client facing? Because I believe that's what BDMs need to do. There's a time for prospecting, but being out there and growing your presence, not just online, but in the real world too. And that definitely was a massive shift. So
This is where I really genuinely believe, Sarah, that obviously BDMs are they're at the end of the day we are sales agents. You got to utilize a database. You got to you got to prospect. There's a lot of people, you look at their diaries and there's nothing set aside for prospecting, which sort of is mind blowing in my mind. So yeah, that's the shift of focus you need to have.
100%, and the accountability there, and just setting yourself up for success, and no one else is going to do the work for you. No one else is going to just give you the leads, right? Or create these amazing relationships. So, but I think going back to the topic for today, and I think something you've done really well is creating that great experience for clients, understanding that what they want, what they need to help them along their journey, and really. Then it's not so much salesy. It's I'm really just understanding what they want, and you're providing that solution to the outcome that they're wanting to achieve. Yeah. So I think, well done. And thank you so much for coming on today. And I look forward to celebrating with you at the REB Awards.
Should be fun.
Yeah. And for last thing, what is one goal you would like to achieve for 2024? So we can all hold you accountable.
Replicate what I achieved in the last financial year.
Awesome. I love that. I love that. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much. And for anyone that wants to reach out, well, you know that he's not big on Instagram, but you do have a LinkedIn page. So we'll put your LinkedIn details there. And if anyone would like to have a chat, they would be wanting to reach out to you, which will be great. And again, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on today. And thank you so much for sharing your insights with all the viewers.
No problem. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks for having me.
No worries. And in true Sarah Cincotta style, everyone, keep rising.